Hey everyone, welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. Today I have for you just some short book recommendations. So basically books that are under 200 pages or around 200 pages that are just really good reads because everyone loves a short king. So I thought we'd go ahead and get started. Um, First up, we have a classic. You've probably had to read it before, but it definitely deserves a reread outside of the academic setting. Uh, it is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. If you haven't seen the movie or heard anything about the book, it basically follows this man who goes to visit his cousin Daisy, and he gets just thrown into her world of sort of luxury, wealth, old money, new money, and it's got a lot of great quotes in it, great characters, and it's just a classic. And it is, in fact, very short, which is why you probably did like it if you had to read it in school. But yeah, this is one of my favorite books ever. It got me out of like a huge reading slump in high school or whenever I had to read it. And I just found it really compelling, fast-paced, and the characters were really interesting. I remember, I think Daisy was my favorite character. And yeah, I just remember really getting into books and sort of classics after reading this. So definitely recommend if you haven't read it, and if you read it, which you probably have, definitely recommend going back and just like looking through your favorite passages or even giving it a reread because, like I said, it is a short king at 180 pages. So yeah. Next up, we have a short one, and this book actually contains other stories besides it because it's even shorter. But it's The Death of Ivan Ilich, and it's by Leo Tolstoy, and it is basically just a short story about a man who is or who has died, and just a little bit about his life and the meaning of life in general. And the reason I recommend this book is one of the shorter books is if you're just looking to get into Russian literature, and I know a lot of the classics can be quite daunting just by size alone, not only the language. Like Anna Karenina's amazing but super long. The Brothers K, amazing, also super long. A lot of those types of books. The length can be a huge barrier to entry. So just starting with a short one like this can sort of get you excited to start some of those. And yeah, I really liked this. And the character, Ivan, is very well written, and the story has like humor as well as just like the hard truths of life. So definitely recommend this one. Next up, and next short king book recommendation is McGlue by Otessa Moshfegh. I think I've recommended this before, but it's her, I think her first book or like novella, and it's basically kind of a messy tale of a like sailor in the olden times, and basically just like maybe he killed his friend, maybe he didn't. He's basically drunk the whole story, has a huge head injury. It's like very gross, so if you don't like reading about like blood and that kind of thing, I definitely wouldn't recommend this for you. But it's a pretty interesting short read, and I feel like I never really read much that relates to sort of like the sailor scurvy era and vibe. So yeah, it definitely gives you a taste of that. And it's good. I really like Otessa Moshfegh and her other books. But this is one that if you're looking for something shorter, that I would recommend. Next up is a book I definitely have recommended before, is Franny and Zooey by J.D. Salinger. I won't say much about it because I've talked about it before, but this book is hilarious. It's got more characters than Catcher in the Rye, so if you were kind of thrown off by Holden, which I know a lot of people can be, Franny and Zooey both offer very different characters to Holden, but it still holds like the humor, the pace, and just a very like narrative-driven story. So this one's really funny. It's my favorite Salinger of the like 2 books he's written, but I like it a lot. Next up is Before the Coffee Gets Cold. It is in fact a short king that has several brothers. It's a series, but I'm recommending this one because it's just an easy one to like pick up and put down, because the story is divided into lots of different, almost short stories. Very happy, also sad at points, but like very like lighthearted kind of. Essentially, the book is about a coffee shop where you can sit down with someone either from the future or from the past and have a conversation with them until the coffee gets cold. So yeah, this one's a good one to read with a cup of coffee, and like you could put it down for a couple weeks and just pick it back up when you're in the mood. And it's divided by different people like sitting down and using the coffee shop's magic powers, sort of. Next up is Sula by Toni Morrison. The reason I recommend this short one, it's only I think it's only 174 pages, so it's a really short book. It's one of my favorite books of all time, but Toni Morrison's a great author. And this one is just a shorter one to get started with if you're worried about length at all. Very easy to digest because it mainly follows Sula, the main character. Like it talks a little bit about her town, but this is like extremely character driven by one specific character. And it's essentially just about a friendship between 2 women. So it's simple, it's short, but also so complex in everything that Toni Morrison writes about. So yes, I love this book. Next up, so my dog actually ate the book that I was going to recommend. This book is not a short king, too long. This book is Motherhood by Sheila Heti, but the book I actually want to recommend is Pure Color by Sheila Heti, but my dog decided to eat that book, so I no longer actually have a copy. I'll replace it at some point. But while this book is basically Sheila Heti's take on being a mother and motherhood, Pure Color is basically about her father. And I actually like that one a lot more, or sort of not about her father, but about relationships with fathers. And I like Pure Color a lot more than this one, because this one is more like true to life. But Pure Color is just this super short, just abstract story about this girl who's like basically thinking about her father throughout the like few short pages. I think it's about 150 pages, maybe less, maybe a little more. But it's super abstract, like you have no idea what's going on most of the time, which I like. Like it floats back and forth between different like time periods and realities. It's somewhat hard to follow, but also just a really beautiful story. And Sheila Heti, I love her writing. I think she's an awesome writer. So I think that one's a really fun one to start out with. It's challenging, like Motherhood will be probably a lot more easy to follow, although I do think it does jump around a little bit and can be a little bit confusing, but Pure Color definitely can be hard to grasp, but also it's short enough where you can kind of take your time with it and digest it and sort of see it as more of like, it's literally like a piece of art more than a book almost in some ways. Okay, enough about that. Next up, my last short king recommendation actually. So one thing is that I do really like is poetry, and I love reading poetry collections, and those are also really great short books if you're looking for something less time consuming, because they're usually under like 100 pages. So my last recommendation is poetry books in general, but I am going to recommend my favorite poetry collection of all time, and that is Time is a Mother by Ocean Vuong. I absolutely love Ocean Vuong. He's like one of my favorite poets, authors. I think probably more poet, but he does have the book On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, and if that was under 200 pages, that would definitely be on this recommendation list. But it wasn't. It was longer. Still recommend it though. But this poetry collection is just so beautiful. It's about his relationship with his mother. And for those of you who don't know, his mother, I think, passed away sort of as he was becoming a more established writer. But yeah, it's just a poetry collection that's super beautiful. A lot of it you can kind of, if you've read On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, you can connect a lot more to the pieces, but just as a standalone collection, it is amazing. He also has another collection, Night Sky with Exit Wounds, which I read also. I read it after I read this and On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, and I did not think it was as strong as this. Totally feel free to disagree. But this is just like miles ahead of that, in my opinion. And I didn't purposely get this, but this is a signed copy. And yeah, love this. Have lots of flags on my favorite quotes and poems. But yeah, that about does it for the short king recommendations. This was not a short video, but hopefully you got some short good books that you can enjoy from this video. And yeah, that's about it for now. See you soon.